Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the CoinRock Show. It is Wednesday. We have a lot of news today, and we're gonna go over a few things today together. A lot of news actually today. So let's give a few moments here. Welcome everyone. Type in number one. Let me have a look here at the comments. Type in number one if you are good audio and sound. We'll give it a few minutes here just to get going, and we will have a look at the latest updates, news, headlines, what's happening in the market. So, very interesting to see. I'm going to be sharing my screen here in a few. And welcome to those who are just joining. We are set for a pretty interesting week coming up. It's not even mid-March, and there's so much. Welcome, Steph. Welcome everyone here. It's very quiet on the timeline. It is always very quiet when price is down. Although price is back up a bit over the last 24 hours. We'll have a look in a moment here. Let's make some noise in the different groups here, and we will get going. Share this in all the groups you're in, and I think we're good to go. So we have some CoinRock Media news, of course. We have a lot of crypto news. I was on this morning with the team. Let me just push this out a bit. I was on this morning with Caius and Lucas and Caius. It's funny, Lucas Caius could have been in another live. They could have been in room in general. Reminds me of the what's Maximus's name in Gladiator? Maximus Decimus Meridius, right? So Lucas Caius, we were on this morning early. Actually, quite. I mean, my days basically consist in a good. If I have only 5 calls a day, it's a light day. Usually it's between 15 to 20 calls. Not that I brag about it. It's just the reality of things. You know, when you're building so many things at the same time, and you're overseeing, even if we have like really good teams, really good leadership on the teams, you just my role is very much I'd say an advisory role now across all the different teams that we have. Of course, now doing all this quote content. Whether it's for here live, we have a lot of different things coming up too. We're going to be pushing a lot on the short format. So you'll see a lot of reels, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, of course, on X, because I do think that this is a bit of a side note, but I do think that looking at some of the numbers here on the way that the X algorithm works, they definitely favor video streams, hence why we're doing so many streams, but also a lot of short format, right? So we are going to be pushing dozens and dozens of pieces of content every single week in short format. And of course, we do these streams every single day. I say every day. I know next week, I know there's actually one day I can't do the stream because I have an IRL event. But overall, we try to do them every single day. So it's usually at the same time too. And we announce them in the different groups. So welcome, everyone. I just tweeted something here about, I was talking about this with my wife here at dinner. A meme. Imagine saying you stand for women's rights while letting men dominate women's sports and nominating men for Women of the Year. Very controversial topic for many. I believe I'm kind of an old school thinker. I do believe, and I strongly believe, that men belong in men's sports and women should be allowed to compete against women and not against men. Hot take. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? We're going to be adding some political stuff too. I think I'm very outspoken on social. to a fault sometimes, because I do know I know I have some high school friends, some old school and high school friends who watch this show, and I get DMs after these shows, especially over the last few days, when we talk about like Trump, of course, because he's on everyone's mind. Whether you love him or hate him, he is always every single day in the news. And it's funny. I talked about this the other day, saying that if you talk about Trump's policies without mentioning Trump, or without mentioning that Trump supports such and such policy, many people would actually agree with the actual policy. And that's how fucked up and how biased our brains. And I would highly encourage everyone, especially because there's the market sucks so bad. Overall, it's so choppy. There's no real excitement. This is when you can actually pick up, like I said, different skill sets or different books and read. Everyone should read and study the human biases, cognitive biases. One of the many cognitive biases is the likability factor. Cognitive biases, likability. And so what's very interesting is, and we're all guilty of doing that in to some extent. Simply put, the liking bias is our tendency gravitate to Jesus, this is such a big typo here. Horrible Google results here. Anyway, I'll move on to the next one. Cognitive biases can impair rational judgment, lead to poor decisions, and cause us to believe falsehoods. So the likability factor basically says if you like someone, our brain is more inclined to listen and follow that advice, even if it's wrong. And if we don't like someone, we are usually less inclined to follow that advice or to be open to an idea that someone that we don't like has, even though it's right. And we've all experienced that. So it is one of the classic human cognitive biases. I think everyone should read this. You can find documentaries about this, audiobooks if you want to too. But Trump it's very interesting seeing, like I said, talking about Trump policies, and people who like Trump tend to be, I mean, you see a bit of everything, right? I think that, in his first term, there were a lot more diehard Trumpers. And I think now, in the second term, it's more almost moderate, because he won so much. And he picked up a lot of people who are literally center, more to the center, but who are just disgusted by the left that they voted Trump, right? And so it's a more nuanced audience today that voted for Trump. All that to say that, I talk about this with friends, and it's very funny to, if you talk to someone and you tell them, hey, let me tell you about these different policies. For example, I was telling this to a friend yesterday. I said, hey, do you prefer living in a world that's pro-war or anti-war? Do you want war or do you want peace? If you're mentally balanced and mentally sane, most people would say peace, of course, right? No one wins in a war. I mean, even the winners and the victors suffer tremendous losses. I mean, Trump is very much pro-peace, right? The EU currently is pro-war. Wild. I don't know who they have or who they think they have to send to the front to fight a war against the Russians. That's the rhetoric lately. It's insane. So again, you might not like Trump, but I would prefer to live in a world where there's peace than war. Another one, I strongly believe that, you can believe that there's many different genders, and that's fine, but children should never be groomed. Children should never be indoctrinated by adults, or led to believe that they need surgery, or led to believe that something is wrong with them between the ages of, I don't know, 6 and 18. So as long as they're minors, they should not be incentivized or manipulated or groomed or presented with propaganda to make them feel like there's something wrong with them, to then lead them down the path of having a life-altering surgery that many times is I mean, damaging beyond belief and irreversible. That's my belief. I think that if you're a parent, you want your children to feel good, but you also don't want them to be manipulated by other adults when you send them to school. That's my belief. I think if you talk to any parent, they will say, yeah, of course, I would like my kids to be mentally balanced, and I would like to know what happens in school, who teaches them, etc. And so that's what Trump says and does, which is very opposed to what the left does, right? I mean, there's these horror stories online about the left, and who literally sue parents who asked to know what was taught by the teachers to their kids in school. So anyway, you know, there's a list you could go on. We can go on for hours, but cognitive biases and the likability factor unfortunately play against Trump because he's so polarizing. If you like him, you tend to also, and I'm sure, you know, some of you have seen friends around you who tend to maybe agree with things that are a bit, you know, controversial or bad. Simply, I mean, you know, Trump doesn't have all the answers. I think he has good policies overall, much more clearer policies than the other side presented during the run up to the election. But I don't agree with everything he does or he says. I disagree with many points. But many people, unfortunately, disagree with him just because it's Trump, despite the actual policy or the actual move or the facts showing them that Trump's decision or policies are actually good for the country and for the world. Again, I want peace. I think we should all want peace. There is no upside in having war, unless if you're a warmonger, and that's it. So that's the political intro. Anyway, welcome everyone who just joined. We're here to talk about crypto. We have a lot actually of news. Welcome to the CoinRock Show. I'm going to be sharing my screen here to share some of the news that we just published on CoinRock Media. And let's have a look first of all at, let me just add you guys here to present. Let's have a look at this. Share screen, and then we'll go to Windows, and then we'll go to this, and then we should go to, should be good, no? How does this work? Let's have a look. And then share. There you go. Window, and we will share this. All right, so we should be good to go. Type in number 1 if you can see the screen here. Should be good. Type in number 1. Yep, we're good. I can see myself here with the screen. So welcome to, this is the CoinRock Media platform, the news platform, right? We have breaking news. Every hour we have new updates here. And I can even see actually just by refreshing here the screen, there's new articles that just got pushed. We'll open this one too. Let's have a look. So first of all, this should be on your favorites. You should be checking this out every single day. We want to build the number 1 news platform, news media platform, an ecosystem in the crypto space and bridging basically Web3 and Web2 traditional finance. And this is a great view on the site, just because it gives you a very quick understanding of what's going on in the market. It's looking better today. You know, I was joking today in one of the chats that Solana was down 15% yesterday, and now it's up again. Like it, you know, it's up 3. If you look at on the weekly, it's still a bit red, but over the day, it's looking much better. You know, these majors actually start trading like altcoins from last cycle, up and down 15, 20%, 30, 40% sometimes on the day, which is insane. Cardano up 15%. So looking better, but again, we're still choppy. We're at 88. We're at 80 yesterday, I think 79, 80 on yesterday's stream. So better, but like I said, cautious. We have a few bullish headlines. So let's have a look here. We'll go. I selected here we have about 20 to 30 stories a day, breaking news here on CoinRock Media. For those who just joined, this is CoinRock Media. This is our news platform, and we push stories, publish breaking news pretty much every single hour. So between 20 and 40 new articles every single day on top of these live streams, and we have a lot of cool guests getting lined up too. We'll have like a guest. I think we have two guests. I think we have one guest this week, two guests guaranteed next week, and we're going to be ramping up. So if you guys want to, if you know someone who would be good to be as a guest, to host, basically, to be as a for us to host as a guest on CoinRock, shoot us a DM or reach out to one of the mods in one of the groups on Telegram, or just send a DM on Twitter. So this was published literally 4 minutes ago. Actually, I think probably 35 minutes ago now that we refreshed. Yeah, 37 minutes ago. This is a continuation of what we've been seeing over the last month or so, with generally very bullish headlines when it comes to regulation, more clarity given by, or more signs. We don't have clarity yet. We don't have clear guidelines yet by the U.S. government, but at least we see that everything is trending in a clearer direction, right? So in this case, the Senate overturns Biden era crypto tax reporting and landmark vote. We can see that Trump coming in is very much a change, a massive change. And I think what would have happened, of course, if the Democrats had won the election, it would have been more of the same. I think we would have been, and funny enough, because crypto dropped over the last few weeks since Trump came in, but the headlines are very bullish. This is also another example of, the U.S. State Senate overturned a Biden-era crypto tax reporting rule in a decision that will resonate around the world, far beyond Washington. You have to understand, too, that a lot of countries, smaller countries, look at what the states are doing to then either copy what the U.S. is doing, or just at least have a frame of reference. And, they are one of the most important countries in the world, especially when it comes to crypto. They've been very clear in the U.S. that they want to make crypto, the U.S. one of the top crypto hubs in the world. So again, the rule that was aimed to increase tax reporting requirements, and if you are in the U.S., you know that there were these memes over the especially last cycle, saying like, I've had like 40,000 trades with 18 wallets, 6 centralized exchanges. Good luck to my accountant trying to figure everything out, to then see that I actually made a loss of $1,000. A lot of those memes in the last cycle, I'm sure you've seen them on Twitter. So it was unnecessarily complicated, and now it is simplifying reporting requirements for the US. Very bullish. Again, these are not like industry changing updates and headlines yet, but everything's trending in the right direction. The way I see it is like you have two scales, right? And everything Biden was doing with the previous administration at the SEC, everything was basically anti-crypto, openly anti-crypto. Elizabeth Warren literally had a headline, was it in maybe Fortune magazine? And what was it? Elizabeth Warren building a anti-crypto. It was a big headline. Forbes. Was it Forbes? The anti-crypto agenda. So it was very clear, right? There was a strong. There was a lot of power going into blocking crypto, blocking on ramps, off ramps, making it difficult for people who bank in the US and also around the world. And so now we really see a shift in not only sentiment, but also headlines. So that is very, very bullish. Implications here. The goal is just basically to make crypto easier to navigate for everyone. If you're a fund, if you manage money, or if you're a retail buyer and you trade meme coins, they want to make it easier for everyone. And that is very bullish for the industry, even though price is we're not at all-time highs. But overall, bullish. Tether, this is interesting. So the way this is going with Tether. So over the years, there's been a lot of Tether FUD, USDT. Funny story. I have friends who ask me, is USDC and USDT the same thing? And so if you're new to crypto, you don't know these things, right? You have to do your research. And so it's no one really teaches you what a stable coin is and the differences in stable coins. I know in the previous cycle, people were, had a lot of money in UST, so Terra Luna, that went to zero. USDT has depegged a few times over the years. Always a lot of FUD against USDT, but they're still around. They're stronger than ever. And it's very bullish to know that one of the top advisors for Trump is actually either a shareholder or I believe he's a shareholder and investor in Tether. Let's have a look. Trump advisor Tether. I saw that headline a few weeks ago. Let's have a look. Yes, Howard Lutnick. This is in the Washington Post. Trump's transition co-chair, of course, he's on the Trump team, has talked up Tether. So I know he has a close relationship with Tether. Cantor Fitzgerald CEO Howard Lutnick is discussing receiving support from Tether. So this was 2 months ago. So again, we'll see what happens with Tether. I think it would be very bad for the industry for Tether to have any kind of issues. They have been restricted. The EU has tried to restrict Tether several times. So again, this is another update. I think what's going to happen is USDC really is, first of all, USDC is based in the US. So it's very safe to assume that it is the US government stable coin of choice. Duh. USDT is not based in the US. The European Securities and Markets, so the ESMA, basically the equivalent of the SEC in Europe, has provided clarity on the treatment of non-compliant stablecoins. In a recent statement, the ESMA confirmed that offering custody and transfer services for stablecoins not under the MICA does not constitute an offering to the public. So Tether custody and transfer is not restricted. That's good. They've been going back and forth with this. There's always the Tether FUD. Tether FUD has always been around in crypto. I mean, it's depegged a few times, always repegs. It's assessed. The Tether publishes a self-assessment, not an audit, not an independent audit, right? If we Google this, Tether assessment, not audit. Tether's lack, this is on CNN, lack of full audit has been an ongoing issue for nearly a decade. So look, nothing new, right? Anytime I see FUD about, Tether is not audited, it's like, it's never been audited. So it doesn't mean that it's safe 100%. Look, it's crypto, anything can happen, right? So you're all adults. I hope you're adults. You're all adults. You are fully responsible for the positions you take in the market. That being said, Tether is very, extremely well backed, extremely well integrated in the whole crypto world and ecosystem. It would be extremely bearish. Sometimes I see people posting that, Tether going down would be good. No, it would not be a good thing for Tether to go down, right? It would be catastrophic to the likes of an FTX blow up. A lot of people have stable coins in Tether, and that's how they transact, especially in countries that have extremely high inflation. USDT is literally how they exchange goods, services, and live on a day-to-day basis. Curious to know if you guys, if any of you guys use USDT on a day-to-day basis, depending on the country you're in. But my view is, and if you ask anyone who knows how closely and deeply connected Tether is into everything, all the exchanges, it would be very bad for Tether to go down and go to zero. Extremely bad. So I'm bullish Tether just because you have to be bullish Tether. and it's up to you to decide if you want to have more in stables in USDC. But overall, Tether FUD will always be around. They keep going back and forth with accepting it, not accepting it, wanting proof of audits, and then allowing it anyway. So that's just how it is. It's always in the news. Then, interesting, we talked about Bybit over the last 12 days. I think, yeah, it's been, so at Friday 2 weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago. So Bybit urges the DAO. So this is interesting, right? Because we talked about the news yesterday. So Lazarus Group, the North Korean government-sponsored hacking group, one of some of the best hackers in the world, stole $1.4 billion in ETH. And they managed to basically launder everything in about 10 days. We talked about that yesterday. Bybit urges, so then it poses a question, right? This is a very interesting point here when it comes to crypto. The decentralized versus centralized argument. Let's have a look here. Bybit urges DAO to return fees earned from hack transactions. Check this out. So, the DeFi ecosystem is facing a new ethical and governance dilemma after Bybit formally requested that Paraswap return transaction fees collected from a $1.4 billion hack linked to the Lazarus Group. So the way that this works is Lazarus Group steals money. They steal ETH, right? Not cash. They steal ETH. They need to get ETH. They need to basically off-ramp that ETH in some way, right? They need to, they need to move that ETH and launder it. How do they do that? There's a lot of different ways. One of the ways they use, the way they use now, was actually using Thorchain. And so they use the DeFi ecosystem to launder the the ETH they stole. The request, which was met, so then Bybit says, okay, hey Paraswap, hey Thorchain, can you send us the fees that your protocol, that your DeFi protocol made off the hack? Because you're here, right? You're trying to, you stole $1.4 billion. You need to launder it, and then you need a bridge. Okay. The bridge is, the bridge collects fees like a toll gate. So Bybit is like, hey, the ethical thing would be to return the money that you made transacting these stolen funds. So I get the point, but it's not as easy as simple as that. On March 4th, this is yesterday, a proposal appeared on Paraswap's DAO forum requesting the return of 44 ETH, so about $100,000, right? Initial reactions from the Paraswap community were cautious, with several DAO members demanding verification before advancing the proposal. And then Bybit then asked, hey, please send us the money that you made off basically helping, or not helping, but allowing the $1 billion plus worth of ETH to get laundered. So there's a dilemma in this, right? The request has divided the Paraswap community. DeFi research and Paraswap DAO delegates outlined the complex implications of granting Bybit's request. Think about this. The whole idea of DeFi is that code is law, right? When you put your money in a bank, you trust the teller, you trust the bank, you trust the centralized authority to hold your money and to give you your money back if you want to close the account and move it. DeFi is different. There is no one person who can say, hey, you can use this service or not. That's basically one of the tenets of crypto, is it is decentralized. And so you code, so the code defines what can be done with it. Not a single person, but the code does. So of course, here, the DAO profiting. So of course the DAO made money, right? The DAO profiting from the hack is bad optics, and returning it would show support for another industry player, but keeping the funds may attract regulatory scrutiny and legal headaches. Very complicated. It also sets a precedent, right? While some argue that refunding the fees demonstrates industry cooperation and accountability, others warn that doing so would set a dangerous precedent, potentially undermining DeFi's core principle. Code is law. The DAO earned the fees legitimately, right? North Korea used the service. The service had code. Code is law. It is, the protocol charges fees to use and to launder that money. In this case, to launder, but to use that bridge. The smart contracts are coded. If funds are returned now, what about future cases? Very interesting question. I have two. I mean, I completely understand the request, right? Bybit's request. And it sucks if you lost money. In this case, Bybit has done very well. The truth is, if code is law, if one of the tenets of crypto is code is law, that's it. That's literally, I mean, there is nothing you can do. That's the game that you play, that we play in crypto. It's not a satisfactory answer for Bybit, I'm sure. Clearly, they're not happy. At the same time, so check this out. Paraswap is not the only DeFi protocol that unintentionally processed funds from the Bybit hack, right here. The hackers used ThorChain to launder stolen assets, causing ThorChain's swap volume to surge past $1 billion by February 27. By March 4th, so yesterday, I told you we have breaking news, and this was posted yesterday. Actually, today, because these tweets came out today. By March 4th, the protocol had generated $5 million in fees, with total trading volume reaching $5.4 billion. If Bybit extends its recovery efforts to ThorChain, the exchange could potentially recover significantly more funds than from Paraswap alone. So it seems like Paraswap, they asked 100,000, right? From here, 100,000 from Paraswap, right? And so from ThorChain, it would be about 5 million in fees that ThorChain collected. Again, big dilemma. What do you do? If code is law, that ThorChain did nothing wrong here. Simple as that. So is it, and then the question is it the DAO's responsibility, or a protocol, which protocol is basically software, right? Is it the software's responsibility that a centralized exchange was hacked? Again, dilemma, yes or no? Complicated answer, question. If code is law, the answer is no. The issue, the point of failure in this case was Bybit. Simple as that. I think there's no, I mean, Bybit, Bybit and the partners, right? So if code is law, the point of failure, so the weakest link in this whole hack was on the Bybit side, not on the ThorChain side. So if we think about it, ThorChain should not have to return any money, because in that case, the argument could be made, if I'm defending ThorChain and like, hey, look, Bybit, so literally these DeFi protocols are bridges. So let's take a very simple analogy of a bridge over a river. By the way, speaking of bridges, when my wife and I were watching all these old movies from the 40s and the 50s. We watched a bridge over the river Kwai. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Amazing movie. So, highly recommended. Coming back to the Paraswap and the ThorChain dilemma. So you have a river, right? There's a bank robbery happening on this side of the country or of the city. This side is another country. So if the robbers make it to this side, they're free. This country cannot, there's no extradition on this side. And you, the bridge operator, you built a bridge between the country that got robbed and the free country. Bridge. If you own the bridge, is it your fault that the robbers used the bridge? Again, should you be charged? Should you return the fees collected? Interesting question. If code is law, no. The answer is no. Bybit's request highlights DeFi's growing regulatory scrutiny and the evolving debate over the responsibility of decentralized platforms in financial crime. This, of course, was a crime committed by Lazarus, targeting Bybit, and it worked for Lazarus. But it's not ThorChain's fault. ThorChain has been known for years to offer this service. And again, if code is law, if Paraswap agrees to return the funds, it could set a new precedent for DeFi. However, refusing the request could reinforce the principle of smart contract immutability, maintaining DeFi's core ethos of trustless. So basically, code is law. Interesting. My view is, if we're in crypto and we assume that, and we agree that code is law, ThorChain should keep the money, and that's just how it is. If otherwise, it's a slippery slope again. And so then, is DeFi really decentralized? What's the point of having these smart contracts if someone can come in and kind of reverse a transaction? So what do you guys think, by the way? I've seen a lot of takes here. Someone wants to share, type in. Very curious to hear your thoughts, but that's a dilemma that will happen more and more as there's more and more hacks. Is the road guilty because the robbers used the road? Should the toll gate and the should the bridge refund the toll gate fees? Interesting question. Next up, David Sachs. Yesterday we talked about this. So David Sachs is a VC. He's basically Trump's crypto guy. He was early founder. I think he was CEO of PayPal. So he was, he came up with the Elon Musk, Peter Thiel era. So about 25 years ago. So he was very early in the Web 1 era, and so now he is. So well-known tech entrepreneur and early PayPal executive has abruptly resigned from major cryptocurrency company, sending shockwaves through the industry. The whole thing is conflict of interest. I understand the conflict of interest issue, right? You're literally probably today the most powerful person in crypto in the US. I would say him and Elon are probably the two most influential voices that can, and Barron Trump, of course, who can influence Trump. It is, of course, a conflict of interest. Like, let's be real here, right? If you own a company and you have your investments and then you advise the president, and you are literally the president's crypto guy, crypto czar, not a good look, right? So there was talk a few weeks ago that he had sold all his crypto and to avoid the conflict of interest. So I'm surprised to see this news. I saw it today when the Solana, Cardano, and XRP news broke on Sunday. Remember that green arrow, the green, the few hours. I think we had about 24 hours of green. It was, again, was he invested in those? Why those three coins? And of course, everyone is, some of these guys track, you could track all these wallets, right? So if any of his wallets are public, anyone can check any transaction. That's one thing. But also involved in a crypto company, of course, there's always going to be blowback in these cases, which is honestly understandable. If you have so much power and influence, it would be foolish to think that people across the world, especially in crypto, where you can follow everything, right? Wallets. It would be foolish to expect people to not protest or to not voice their opinion that there is a conflict of interest. So again, the main question here is, was this a strategic move or was it due to pressure? I think we have a hint here, right? If everyone's yelling online, and living in such a hyper-connected world where everyone's on social media, the presidents are tweeting. Of course, this gets back to the senior level of decision making at the government. So pressure, maybe, but of course there is a conflict of interest here. I think it's very bullish for us, of course, to have Sachs as Trump's crypto guy. Super bullish. He's a VC. He is an entrepreneur, a business guy. He wants to make money. He's not a communist. So it is bullish for us, for you. If you hold crypto, if you want to see your bags pump, you have to be pro David Sachs. That being said, of course, there's a conflict of interest. And in this case, what do you do? Sometimes the best case is just to the best way is just to walk away. And again, a lot of mixed opinions about the resignation. Was it voluntary? Why was it now after the blowback? So yesterday, after the announcement on Sunday, especially now they have on Friday. So in 2 days they have a crypto event in it's either in DC or in Mar-a-Lago. So again, why not resign last week? Why wait now after the announcement? Could be some pressure. But overall, bullish for the industry that Sachs is. Imagine if Elizabeth Warren was in charge, was the crypto czar or the anti-crypto czar. Your bags are dead, my friends. You're all working McDonald's. It's over. All the memes, the memes are back to zero. All your utility coins and your amazing projects go to zero if Elizabeth Warren was the anti-crypto czar. Imagine Kamala Harris. Imagine a world where Kamala Harris is president and she nominates, so Gensler is still at the SEC, and Elizabeth Warren is the anti-crypto queen. That would be hilarious. Not funny for your portfolios though. So bullish overall, maybe some pressure. Oh, Sharam here says, in good faith, you can argue they can return the money for the industry, but from a law of the land, agree with your statement. Yeah, I agree. It would be more of a gesture. It would be more of a donation, I think that 100% agree. It would be, in that case, it would not be returned to Bybit. See what I mean? Like, I think a better move politically even, or PR-wise. That being said, crypto projects in general, not these guys. I don't know who manages their PR. So Thorchain, all those guys, most of them don't understand PR and marketing and media, so it wouldn't come to mind. But if you have a good PR firm helping, this could be a case of you donating to a charity, donating to something, but not to Bybit. And you have to be on the call at Bybit and tell Ben at Bybit, hey, Ben, I can't do it, bro. Code is law, my friend. You know it. And the failure is on your end. And Ben would say, yeah, I know. But, can we have the 5 million? And you would say, I can't. But I can donate. And you could donate to, I don't know, a children's hospital, like a real charity, right? Not the bloated charities where the money goes to flying the executives around in private jets. Not to name any, but many of the big ones are like that. But you actually donate the money. You say, no, I'm not giving you the money back because you should not be getting the money back, Bybit. But I understand that I'm not going to keep the money. I'm going to donate it. I think that would be a good move for everyone. Of course, it's kind of a PR move, but at the same time, it's kind of like you meet in the middle. I definitely don't. I don't think there should be any pressure from Bybit on Thorchain or PowerSwap or any DeFi protocol to return the money, because everyone knows the rules of the game here. Trump says 100%. It could be a great PR move, but shouldn't set precedents. 1000% agree with that. Yep. Yep. Okay, moving on to. Oh yeah, this was funny. Do you guys remember the Olympics, Paris Olympics last summer? Do you remember the scandal with the breakdancer, the Australian breakdancer? Her husband, no, brother, sorry, Olympian Rachel Gunn. So she was she got a lot of heat on social media because she kind of squeezed her way to the Olympic team, the Australian breakdancing Olympic team, went to the Olympics in Paris, and she was a complete joke. And it was not a good look for the way. And breakdancing was the very first Olympics for breakdancing, and it was not a good look because it turns out she was connected to someone around her, whether it's husband, brother, family member, someone was connected to the breakdancing federation and very generously helped her to get into that team when she did not have the level to be on the Olympic team. So it went viral. I'm sure you can find the clip. I'm sure you've seen it, even if you don't remember. You would remember if you saw it, but that breakdancer, basically, her brother got charged in a crypto crime case. The only reason why he's on the news is because of her. So, but this I thought was interesting too. So, Australian authorities have charged Brendan Gunn, the brother of Olympian breakdancer Rachel Gunn, with allegedly dealing with funds reasonably suspected to be the proceeds of crime. This is interesting. Beyond the breakdancing thing, it's interesting because we're going to see this more and more, right? So, as regulators, as banks, just ask for more information about source of funds, proof of funds, KYC, and all that. There's going to be more and more of these charges, where if they can, and now all this can be automated through software. If they can basically connect funds that have come into your KYC wallets that are the proceeds of crime, of course they can freeze that. So it's going to happen more and more from now on. It's also free money for the government. The Australian Securities and Investments Commission accused Gunn of handling two bank checks for $181,000 derived from investments made by three people seeking cryptocurrency conversions. Brendan Gunn has confirmed his relationship to Rachel during the Olympics. So that's the brother could not be prouder of my amazing sister, Ray Gunn. If you Google Ray Gunn, you'll see the hilarious video of Rachel Gunn breakdancing at the Olympics, who did an incredible job competing in a brand new Olympic sport representing this great country. Okay, so back to crypto. What's interesting here is you'll see this happen more and more. So the ASIC alleges that this is 5 years ago, Gunn engaged in financial transactions with money that could be suspected to be from crime. As director of More Markets Pty Limited, the company that facilitated fiat to crypto, so an off-ramp solution, Gunn allegedly continued to open bank accounts despite repeated closures by financial institutions, citing concerns over scams. So think of this as being kind of what happened with Bybit, but in a centralized way, right? So Bybit, the hack Lazarus, used a DeFi protocol. In this case, the scam money was, so the ill-gotten gains were getting off-ramped, right? So from fiat to crypto, so from crypto to fiat, and so he was offering a fiat to crypto service, and now with it's getting, even with AI now, it's getting so much easier within seconds to track all the wallets. Even if you move hundreds and hundreds of transactions, it's getting much easier for regulators and law enforcement to find this, which is good. So charges against Gunn fall under section etc., carrying a maximum penalty of 3 years in jail, a fine of, I think, 37K is nothing for this. But yeah, jail kind of sucks, not fun. My point here is the crypto to fiat, you have a centralized power, right? In some way that can say, okay, we'll shut down the bank accounts. Very different to what happens in DeFi. So in this case, of course, this is going to happen more and more. Proceeds of crime will be stopped when they get off-ramped, especially in tier 1 jurisdictions in countries like Australia. There's countries that literally turn a blind eye. Much easier to get your money out. But in this case, yeah, it's not looking good, bro. It's not looking good for so off-ramping scam money is going to be problematic over time, and more problematic, which I think is great. I think it's good. Another one here, I wanted to show you this too, just because there's because crypto now is getting regulated, and finally we're getting some sort of framework in the coming months. There's also and so as we're seeing the US wanting to give clarity to the industry, we're also seeing almost a case of deregulation. We're seeing the SEC dropping cases like we saw. Yet every day I'm showing you these headlines, right? SEC dropping cases, usually not about, so they're not dropping criminal cases. They're usually not dropping fraud cases. They're dropping civil lawsuits, usually tied to securities, sale of securities, not fraud. It seems so far that the SEC is pursuing and wants to pursue fraud, which I think is great, and wants to pursue crime. So, there's this meme on crypto Twitter where you could see this over the last few weeks, saying like crime season is officially open. Well, not so fast, right? I mean, you might have some pockets. I mean, look, the SEC is not going to go after people who rug a Pump.fun coin for $2,000, right? But if they deem the number big enough, of course, it makes sense for them to deploy resources to catch you and to claw back the money. So again, this is a $2.6 million admitted to failing to report more than $2.6 million in illicit earnings linked to ESA's wide-ranging criminal schemes. So again, the DOJ, you don't want to be messing with the DOJ. What's interesting here is that crimes here, $1 million in bribes to LA officials. Like in the US, there's other countries where bribery is not as blatant. Not blatant. There's other countries where bribery is more blatant and definitely not as big of an issue as in the US. The US is not a country where you want to be bribing officials. Of course, the whole like luxury real estate, high-end cars. So yes, this is not good. Like this is crime, right? So yes, this is something that usually it's not just an SEC issue. It's a DOJ, Department of Justice issue. We're going to be seeing those more and more. So it seems like she founded a crypto trading platform and then a mix of fraud, undeclared income, and yeah, it's not looking good again. But again, this is bullish. I really think that we're moving in a direction where these things are actually bullish for the industry. It puts the bad actors away. The only thing is, like I said, we'll get clarity on what is security. Yesterday we saw that story with Yuga Labs, right? So the SEC dropping the case against Yuga Labs, NFTs being not securities. It seems like memes will not be securities either. So we'll have clarity in the coming months, definitely more than we've had over the last few years. This is interesting because this is crime. Like let's not sugarcoat this, right? So crime must go. It's very bullish for actors. It'll clean up the space. Of course, the space will never be 100% clean because when there's big money, there's always crime involved to some extent. So, but this is bullish for the industry. Let's have a look at this one. This was pretty interesting. So dormant Bitcoin wallets moved $22 million after 14 years. Can you imagine this? Like you've hold crypto, not crypto, Bitcoin. You've hold Bitcoin. Look at this. 2011. Bitcoin wallets that have remained untouched for 14 years have transferred $22 million worth of Bitcoin. And this is what, a few hundreds, 250 BTC. Amazing. So the question then is, was this a hodl situation? Or was it I completely forgot I had this laptop with Bitcoin on it. I found it, and luckily I still have my wallet. God knows. But it is very interesting. Questions, of course. Who owns these wallets? Why now, after so long? What impact could the movement of these long dormant funds have on the broader Bitcoin market? I think that if a few hundred Bitcoin is fine. I mean, there's so much. It is a liquid market, even though Bitcoin is down and all that, of course. But this is fine. The issue is what happens if you have like 100 of these guys, dumping Bitcoin, or huge wallets that own, 0.1% and start dumping Bitcoin. That's interesting. Again, this is given Bitcoin's market cap. This is a non-event, but it's interesting to see more of like, okay, the psyche of this buyer, or in this case, they probably didn't even buy Bitcoin. They probably went. Do you guys remember that thing? It was called the crypto. Was it the crypto tap? The Bitcoin faucet. Bitcoin faucet. So you could actually go, if you type in Bitcoin faucet on Google in 2012, I believe. 20. Let's have a look. 2010, a site called Bitcoin Faucet gave away 5 Bitcoins to each visitor who solved a CAPTCHA. So, like you type in those words and not words, these letters and numbers to verify that you're a human. So every time you solved a CAPTCHA, you would get 5 Bitcoin, which today is like $500,000. One of those things if we could go back in time. But, it could be someone who didn't even buy Bitcoin. They just did that a few times, got $250 while being high, watching, I don't know if Netflix was around, but watching TV, doing the Bitcoin faucet, parking that in a wallet or on a hard drive, forgetting, and then finding the laptop. Stranger things have happened. So, but again, imagine waking up one day and being like, oh, I have some Bitcoin. I completely forgot. This is interesting. Ricardo Salinas is a very rich Mexican billionaire, very pro crypto. This is a pretty cool headline just because you see these guys who are very well established in business, in traditional business, old school business, right? This guy's not young. This is not Gen Z. And he's been pro Bitcoin for years now. So very interesting to see. Why is this interesting? It's not just because this guy's buying Bitcoin. It's because of the reach he has, the trust, the credibility he lends, that his words lend to the broader market. All these guys hang out together. There's not a lot of Mexican billionaires. They probably all know of each other, or they know each other directly. If this guy's buying Bitcoin, it's very bullish because it creates FOMO. It creates FOMO at a level where these guys can drop, $500 million and buy Bitcoin overnight if they want to. So it's these headlines, again, they're not selling Bitcoin, they're buying Bitcoin, and also they're talking about it, they're pushing it. So speaking to Bloomberg, Salinas, the founder and chairman of Grupo Salinas, made it clear that he is all in on Bitcoin. The remaining 30% of his portfolio is allocated to gold and gold mining stocks, a significant departure from traditional billionaire investment strategies. That's it. He says, that's it. I don't have a single bond. I don't have stocks. He has gold and digital gold. And people, again, these guys, you have to think of these guys as KOLs, right? Key opinion leaders beyond the crypto KOLs. These guys actually can move billions of dollars worth of buying pressure if they say, okay, guys, he invites everyone to his farmhouse in Mexico. You have like the tennis courts, basketball courts. You have his maybe his golf course, and he's like, all right, boys, I want you guys. You're not leaving this camp. You're not leaving until you all buy $100 million worth of Bitcoin. Funny, but that's the power these guys have, right? So it's more about being an advocate for the industry, being pro Bitcoin, and he hasn't changed his tone in years. This guy's been around for years in Bitcoin. I mean, the previous cycle, the first headline I saw of him was 2021, maybe, so over 4 years ago now. And so he's bullish, which is good because it gets other people, other whales in. This is the event I mentioned earlier. Oh, yeah. So it's going to be at the White House in DC. Crypto executives confirm attendance at upcoming White House summit. So this is going to be in 2 days on Friday. The White House will host a pivotal summit, crypto summit, bringing together some of the most influential figures. So this is very much on the institutional side, as you guys can see. Let's zoom in here. Brian Armstrong. So Coinbase, Chainlink, Exodus, Sailor, of course, probably the loudest pro-crypto voice in the US. Robinhood CEO, Kraken CEO, I didn't know he was going to, Kraken, and Paradigm co-founder. So, of course, David Sachs. Very interesting because I think it is, who mentioned this? I saw a headline earlier today. I know there was an article coming up. Just the team was typing this up. I think the head of the Treasury, I think it was Bressant who said this. Oh no, Lutnick, maybe Lutnick was saying this. So Lutnick Crypto. Ooh, yeah. So again, he's hinting at something happening on Friday, right? A big announcement on Friday. So that's going to be interesting to see. Market response to potential trigger. Again, everyone has been waiting for something. So quick facts here. The White House Crypto Summit will take place on this Friday. Focus on regulation, stablecoins, and the U.S. Crypto Strategic Reserve with Coinbase leaders, Chainlink, Exodus Strategy, MicroStrategy, Robinhood, and Kraken. New announcements, probably something new. It's going to be interesting to see, but at least we can see again that it's, despite the price being shit, it's very bullish. The industry is moving in the right direction. This was an interesting headline too, and we'll wrap this up in a few minutes here. 1 hour. Good. Welcome everyone who just joined. We're doing we're having a look at some of the headlines here. The headlines over the last 24 hours for crypto. Drop in a hi if you're here on the chat. Reddit co-founder wants to buy TikTok, and he wants to basically put TikTok on the blockchain. Shram says they're probably going to create a Bitcoin strategic reserve separate from the digital asset reserve. That's kind of what's been hinted to. I think they haven't mentioned Bitcoin, by the way, at all over the last few weeks, right? They talked about, of course, on Sunday, they talked about cryptos, XRP, ADA, and all that. I think the Bitcoin maxis are waiting for the like a real Bitcoin strategic reserve, and not just buying Bitcoin, but the actual strategy. Do you buy ongoing? Do you lower taxes? Do you cut taxes? Like, what is the actual strategy around just buying Bitcoin? I think that's actually, because in my mind, the US will buy Bitcoin. I mean, at some point they will officially buy Bitcoin. I have no doubt about that. What is interesting to me is, what did they do around it? And I think that's what to me is the most interesting, and that will signal to other countries that yes, we are setting up the infrastructure in the country to attract talent, to attract investments, to attract founders, investors, leaders to the US. That will be more interesting to me than just the US buying crypto, buying Bitcoin, because I think at this point it's just a matter of when, not if. But everything around that is more interesting, and seeing how that will affect just the influx of people and wanting to invest in the US for crypto. The battle for TikTok's US operations. So remember, about a month ago, TikTok was supposed to be banned. Actually, it was banned for like a day, or I think just under a day, in mid-January, I think. The battle for TikTok's US operations has taken an unexpected turn, with Reddit co-founder joining the fight, not just to acquire the platform, but to integrate blockchain technology. I think, again, this is bullish. Like, you don't see these headlines in a bear market. That's what I also want to say. Everything here that we're seeing is very much these are the headlines you see in a bull market. In a bear market, when everything is dead, no one wants to touch crypto. So we've passed that. So his tweets today was, exciting news for the digital world. I'm officially now one of the people trying to buy TikTok US and bring it on chain. TikTok has been a game changer for creators, blah, blah, blah. So again, what does this mean? I think that beyond just TikTok, it shows the business world that there's a thinking, there's a way of thinking in putting assets, real world assets, companies on the blockchain. And so, is this a PR stunt? Will this go through? Can he even buy TikTok US? Can they actually put it on chain? Maybe. But I think what it shows is that the industry is only growing and only going more mainstream. So I want to also calm you guys down, like I've been saying for days now. I'm not at all in panic mode. I think, I think the industry is heading in the right direction, and I sleep very well at night. And you should too, unless if you're trading perps and you're getting liquidated on every wick, and if you're trying to make it all back in one trade, that's on you. But overall, this is going in the right direction. Again, keep in mind that these guys who say they want to buy companies, 9 times out of 10, they never actually end up buying the company. Oftentimes, they don't even want or can buy the company. They just get great PR. Like we're talking about this guy, right? So interesting. I always look at these headlines with enthusiasm, but also skepticism, because we've seen these headlines before. It's great for the industry, but I actually don't care if TikTok goes on the blockchain, which I think would be great. I'm interested in what is this going to do to the next 10, 20, 30, 50 companies and CEOs looking at this saying like, this is an option. This could actually be good. And then asking the CTOs, hey, can you put together a report about doing something on the blockchain? That's what's interesting to me. So, Reddit has been has been pro crypto for years, nothing new. This is a newsworthy tweet just because TikTok is in the news, of course, but also it shows that there's an interesting future connecting Web 2. Reddit is a Web 2 company with Web 3. Very interesting to me. Again, industry heading in the right direction. El Salvador, we talked about El Salvador yesterday. El Salvador president vows to continue Bitcoin purchase despite IMF resistance. Of course, the IMF is pissed that he's buying Bitcoin. But I love this guy. I love this guy because I also watched a documentary. You should all watch a documentary about, I think it's called CCOT, the massive mega prison. Yeah, CCOT, CECOT, El Salvador. The Center of Confinement for Terrorism. Interesting. He built a mega prison that is amazingly well thought, and where they try to, what's the word? Train, teach, help non-violent criminals to actually be useful and helpful to society. So I know they have a lot of big workshops where they can make clothes, where they actually are useful to society on the way. They're in jail, but they actually contribute to society. And in the documentary, he also says that this doesn't apply to murderers and rapists, I believe. But everyone who is in jail for a non-violent crime is in CCOT. And yeah, so YouTube has a great there's a bunch of documentaries, really good ones. Some are disgusting just in the tone of like how they try to frame him as being quote bad. I think he's I mean, if you just look at the facts and you look at the numbers of El Salvador on the crime side, he's been amazing for the country. So, I get annoyed where I watch documentaries where instead of showing the facts, they try to spin and give you kind of an angle and a bias that you're not looking for. But if you look at what he's done for the country, it is amazing. And so, he's been, what was it, Bitcoin? I think it was Bitcoin Florida a few years ago, probably 2021, I think, where he announced that El Salvador would be buying Bitcoin. So Nayib Bukele has reiterated his commitment to the nation's Bitcoin acquisition strategy, stating that government purchases of the cryptocurrency will continue despite recent stipulations from the IMF. A few days ago, El Salvador secured a $1.4 billion loan because there was a lot of talk about the IMF kind of pressuring him, saying, "Hey, if you're buying Bitcoin, if you want to make Bitcoin a legal tender," which he did briefly. I don't think it's legal tender anymore, but we're basically not going to be giving you any money. That's how the IMF controls countries. And so they secured a loan, $1.4 billion under the extended fund facility. However, a key condition attached to the loan was a directive to halt the government's purchase of Bitcoin. It's wild to me. Why would you, imagine you're the IMF, right? You supposedly control trillions of dollars and basically the flow of money in the world. Why? And look, El Salvador looks like a very nice country. He's done amazing for the country. But let's be real, they don't have the global influence that the US or China or Russia or even smaller countries in Europe have. So why? It's always interesting, of course, if you've done your research on and you read about the IMF and how the World Bank works. It's a very interesting system to control these smaller nations. When I say interesting, it's also extremely corrupt. Not that the agencies are corrupt themselves, but the people working have been found over and over and over again, just doing bad things, basically. The IMF's official memorandum emphasized no voluntary accumulation of Bitcoin, of BTC, by the public sector in El Salvador. Wild, right? Again, this is not like the IMF saying this like a big country, saying like, hey, we'll give you this money, but you cannot buy Bitcoin. It's like, what? So again, fear, right? The IMF doesn't like that. In addition to this, the IMF cautioned against the issuance of debt or any financial instruments tied to Bitcoin, citing concerns over the cryptocurrency's volatility. Nothing new. But he said, if it didn't stop when the world ostracized us and most Bitcoiners abandoned us, it will not stop now. It won't stop in the future. So, tweeted this all stops in April. No, it's not stopping. If it didn't stop, that's what I just read. Proof of work, proof. I didn't see that tweet, actually. That's actually pretty funny. Proof of work, is better than proof of whining. Again, I talked about this a few days ago, right? If you guys were on, I said that it's been such a positive, net positive. It's had such a net positive effect on the country, just from a marketing perspective. I said this, and I've been very vocal that governments, and we're actually talking to a few government officials in different countries about crypto, which is very interesting for CoinRock. Complete side note, I'll give you some alpha if I can about that in the coming. I'd say probably we have something in April. We'll have some news, so maybe in the next few weeks I'll do like more of a segment on like CoinRock and like government, kind of what's like the alpha with a few different government officials from different countries that we're talking to. Anyway, what is interesting here is the free marketing. That's what these countries don't understand, right? Or the countries understand it. In his case, he understood it. He gets it. If you look at if you look at El Salvador tourist growth, you can literally see El Salvador is experiencing a solid recovery in its tourism sector. 40% increase compared to 2019. Is it only because of Bitcoin and crypto? Maybe not, but it's definitely, I have a lot of friends who didn't know where El Salvador was. They thought it was just like a South American or Central American country. Now they see it in the headlines, even in Europe. Even, I have like several of my good European friends here, very close friends. We know that some people in Europe don't know, and people who went to school don't know where El Salvador is. If you showed them Mexico, they would know. If you showed them probably Colombia, Venezuela, but everything in between, they don't really know. This has been amazing advertising and marketing for the country. I think smaller countries, just by buying Bitcoin, 1 Bitcoin a day, 1 Bitcoin a week, actually the amount doesn't really matter. That's what people don't understand. The amount doesn't matter. It's just the commitment to doing something in a space in crypto that is so viral that if a country, a smaller country, starts literally declaring openly, like, hey, we are investing in crypto, we are buying Bitcoin, we are changing regulation to be pro-crypto, we're changing the visas, we're changing the residency laws to attract pro-crypto investors, crypto builders. That's free advertising. That will be on page 1 of all the major news and financial publications, mainstream, left, right, center, everything. So, and of course, what happens with that is that investors, the finance world, pays attention to that. And it's like, oh, let's have a look. Let's go on vacation. Let's see. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's good for us. Maybe we can invest. Maybe there's a way for us to buy something in the country. Real estate has gone up in El Salvador since Bitcoin was really at the forefront of what Bukele tweets about too. Very bullish. Again, I think more countries should learn from this, especially. But my theory too is that, so I think Bukele is my age. I think he's just around 40 years old now. How old is Bukele? I think he's 1980. Oh, he's older than me. 5 years older. Okay. So all these guys, right? Our generation, my generation, the 35-plus-year-old generation, in a few years, maybe not in the US, because the US loves to elect very old, I like Trump, of course, but people on the older side. But a lot of countries, you're seeing this new class of politicians coming up, and they're younger, and they grew up with crypto, and they are now in power. That's one of my core theses of several years ago when I started to really get into not just like trading every now and then, but really investing in crypto, is because today's politicians hold crypto much more than a few years ago. And today's younger politicians will be tomorrow's decision makers, and they will be pro crypto, right? They're not buying physical gold. If you talk to a 20-year-old, they consider gold to be like a boomer asset, literally. That's how they talk. So again, I'm very bullish on young leaders, and the fact that in the next 5, 10, 15 years, the 30, 40-year-olds today own crypto, own Bitcoin, and we're going to see a lot more adoption just because it's in their best interest to directly or indirectly pump the industry up because they own crypto themselves. So I'm very bullish on that. I think beyond just the direct impact on the industry, I think it's amazing to see and I think it's very underestimated, especially for smaller countries. If I was a small country, head of a small country, wink, wink, in Central America or Asia or Africa, I mean, in any small country that kind of doesn't get much attention in the media, the best way to get earned media, free advertising, is to start being pro crypto. That's all I'm saying. We're having these conversations. We'll have more of these conversations over time too, because I definitely want to be more involved on the advisory side, and it's something that we haven't really done over the last few years. But now, again, with the reach that CoinRock has been having over the last 12 months, is something we want to do more, and just being more connected with regulators in Europe and Asia and the Middle East, and also now, of course, with the US. It's something that I think is a very easy win for countries to add to what they're doing, offering a crypto visa, a crypto residency program, buying Bitcoin, buying crypto, investing in the infrastructure, investing in, giving grants to founders to come to build blockchain-based businesses in the country. I think it's just free advertising, and it's a no-brainer. All right, guys, moving on to Pump.fun. This is the last news of the day, just came out when we started the show. Pump.fun trading volume drops, meme coin hype fades. Nothing really new here. I mean, we've seen this. I mean, it is new in the sense that, it's 94% is a big drop, but, my view is on memes. So everyone should know Pump.fun. You guys should know Pump.fun, a platform that was once, I love how they say once. I love this. It's like in crypto, this is very accurate actually. It's like crypto moves so fast that if it's anything that was popular 6 months ago is now dead. Whereas in traditional finance, 6 months ago means it just came out. The attention span is so short in crypto. So again, they were doing about 30 to, I think they peaked around 50 to 60. No, they peaked at more. They probably peaked at closer to $80 million in fees a few months ago in a single month. Fees are down, so trading activity dropped by 94%. Not surprised. I think there's exhaustion in the market. I think the Libra scam was also something that took a lot of traders out. My view on memes is that they're not going anywhere. Memes will be around. Memes will come up. If we have a next leg up, which we will have, the question is more of a when than an if. Memes will pop. Maybe not the memes you hold, but memes as a sector will do well. The reason is very simple. Memes are very easy to understand, easy to onboard. Anyone can launch a meme. Anyone can buy a meme easily now in Solana. Solana has taken on so much hate over the last few months because it's bad for the industry and it's this and it's that. And I said this yesterday on Spaces. I said, the market doesn't care about your emotions. You just have to see how the market evolves and then make and decide where you want to invest your time and money. It doesn't care about your emotions. So my view is, and it's not just my view. I mean, my view and the people around that I consider to be very knowledgeable about crypto, but those who've been around since literally day one, over 15 years ago, memes are not going anywhere. Memes are going to stay. It will be very volatile. Think of memes as being almost like a beta play off crypto. So you have the stock market, you have crypto, and then you have memes. So memes are always going to move much more than the traditional utility in altcoins, but memes are here to stay. Easy to buy, easy to understand for someone joining. It's basically, I talked about this over a year ago. I said, no, not over a year ago. I think it was April. I was on a big Spaces and like 50,000 people. And the topic was meme coins, or celebrity. It was the first wave of celebrity meme coins. And I said that this was before the whole meme coin. It was at the beginning of the meme coin craze. I said that memes in this cycle are what NFTs were the last cycle. Big difference though. You can always trade memes much more easily than NFTs. So I think I have no doubt that memes come back. I have no doubt that token launches do well. No doubt that as soon as there's more enthusiasm, as soon as there's more of a risk-on mentality in the market, people will start buying memes, trading, launching memes, taking more risk. That's just how it is. It's human nature. That's just how we are as investors, and it's up to you then to make the right choice and what to buy, what not to buy, etc. So that's it for today's CoinRock Show, guys. Thanks for joining. Let's look at the price. We are at 88. I think we started the show we're at 88. Stable. The other day we started the show and I think it dropped by $3,000 in like an hour. ETH is up. Unbelievable. ETH is up 5% on the day. So good. Insider joke for ETH because it's been so bad all cycle that any green day is a good day. So that's kind of the update for today, guys. Thank you for joining as always. We're almost at 200 people live here. Appreciate you guys. Share this with other people. We'll be doing these every single day. I'll have some alpha tomorrow for you guys after an IRL meeting that will be very interesting. with a large company. I think I can name drop them after the meeting. We'll see. We'll see. It'll be interesting. But some alpha too. Share the CoinRock Media love. Share the CoinRock links with your friends. Send them these articles. The vision, like I said, is for us to build CoinRock into one of the biggest names in the industry, over the biggest news, and also the biggest, a main name in the industry between Web3 and Web2 traditional finance, because that's really where the first half of my life was spent. So look for a few guests coming in over the next few days. We have some shows that are pre-recorded with some guests. They live in different time zones, and they're just more comfortable doing it pre-recorded and then editing. We have some guests who are very easy to who are very good on lives, and others need to be edited. So all good. We'll just post those on Twitter, and I think that's pretty much it for today. So thank you for joining, guys. CoinRock Media is the handle. Let's just drop this here in the chat. And we're going to be doing these. So we'll be on tomorrow again, same time. So set your reminders, set your notifications. We'll be pushing a lot on. Oh, something else too. You'll be seeing a lot of. We'll be launching actually a lot of reels, a lot of tweets, a lot of reels. So real short clips based off these shows. So that's something that we'll be pushing to in the next few days here. So if you follow CoinRock Media, you will be seeing a lot of breaking news, headlines, news, and all that. Again, thank you for joining. Let me just post this. Let me push this here. The CoinRock Media Twitter. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for joining, guys. Share this in the different groups and all the groups that you're in, and we'll be on tomorrow. Same time, same place. Talk soon. Hey, thanks for watching. If you got value from this episode, you're going to love what's coming next. So subscribe now. We drop new episodes and videos several times a week, featuring power players, market movers, and insiders from the financial world. And if you want access to deals and insights we only share privately, hit the links in the description, and we'll see you on the next show.